wanted to get on here and say that this is what I call a Sunday morning reset. I've got a movie on for the kids. I'm still in my pajamas, just chilling. Haven't really done much today, but I've decided that we need to go ahead and refill some things. We need to refill our brown sugar that's empty. We need to refill flours and sugars, make more granola. So what I do is throughout the week, here I'll show you. What I do here is I have this little counter that really isn't for much. Holds our medicines that I've made, our sourdough that needs to be fed, and a random assortment of stuff, right? Don't you have a counter like that? What I do is, as empty jars happen throughout the week, so here's a jar that had granola, another jar of granola, another jar of granola. Got a jar here that had, I think, granola. Got a jar there that has corn flour. I've got a jar here that I marked soda, so baking soda. So this tells me I need to go through on Sunday and either refill it or make something else to go in that place for this coming week. If I'm out of oats for granola, that tells me I'm gonna have mornings where I don't have 4 jars or 2 gallons worth of granola for my family. So what am I gonna have for breakfast instead of that? Do I need to make a batch of pancakes? Do I need to grab cream of wheat out of the pantry and have that instead? Do I need to take account on how many eggs we have? Maybe we'll have eggs instead, right? Or today, on Sunday, I need to go, okay, I need to make some more granola, right? Here's my kid's aqua dragons. If you're wondering what that is, she hasn't fed him in a while. I don't know if I can see any to show you guys. Anyway, that lives here. I'm sure it's like the junk drawer of counters. Everything lives here. So far, I've made 1 batch of brown sugar, and I was able to refill my husband's brown sugar for the week for his coffee. I also refilled our honey for the week for my tea. So that's good. Doesn't look like that is enough to fill this jar up because we actually used it all. So I think I'm going to make another batch and I'll probably show you that. I also just need to refill my sugar. So we're going to do that. Went through and refilled the whole wheat. I need to refill the all-purpose or bread flour. Okay, I got my oils and my butter have melted, so I'm going to turn that off. This is for granola. So I let the butter melt, but we're not looking to brown it or anything. So that can just sit and wait for us for whenever I'm ready to make granola. So let's go ahead and get that second batch started. So you just saw me scoop out. I left a little bit in there because I'm going to do another batch anyway. It doesn't matter, right? Okay, what I'm going to do is I'm going to estimate and fill about halfway. I'm not going to measure it. Typically, most people will do 1 cup of sugar to 1 tablespoon of molasses, but I have what's called backstrap molasses, and I find that it's like really concentrated in flavor, so I don't need quite as much. Or maybe our family just likes more of a light brown sugar. But I find when I do the 1-to-1 ratio, it tends to get too dark, too sticky, and too molasses-y flavored. So I'm just gonna estimate it. I can always add more molasses, right? If it mixes and it looks too light, just add a little bit more. Maybe add a teaspoon at a time until it's to the color that you guys like, okay? So let's fill this up. I was listening to a book on my audiobook, and then when I started filming this, I realized that I can't film and listen at the same time, but I didn't take my headphones off. And you know what? The movie or the kids are watching is pretty loud. And you can hear my baby going ba 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 ba. So, you know what? I'm just gonna leave them on. It's probably too much for this, right? Gonna have some left over. That's okay, I'll just put it into a different mason jar. And I'm gonna refill this while I'm here so I can just get that out of the way and get that container out of the way, right? One less thing to do. One more thing to check off the list. And I don't know if you're like me, when you can check things off your to-do list. Man, does it feel nice. Okay, it's good enough. weeks coming up. Let's wipe off this little bit I spilled. Put it in the pig bowl. Okay, so this can get put away. I keep just my sugar measuring cup in here. I don't have to get a measuring cup every single time. Also why I didn't fill it all the way. So it left room to put the measuring cup in there and for the lid to go on. And that way, whenever I grab my sugar, I have some kind of measuring cup to use. And I just put a common one in there, like quarter cup. That way I can get a quarter cup of sugar, half or whole. I don't even have to get another measuring cup dirty or go and find one. If you know, you know. I have tweens and teens learning how to unload and load the dishwasher. Hey, if I leave it in here, I never need to wonder where it is or look in all the drawers, right? It's ready to go. Now, I'll show you a hack for this. So I take my tablespoon measurer and my sugar and I just make an indent. Now, does it make the most perfect indent in the world? No, it doesn't. But it gives you a good estimate. I'm making another indent. I think this will take 3 or 4 tablespoons of molasses. So I made 4 indents. Do you see that? And like I said, I can always add more molasses. But now this isn't dirty. I can brush off the tiny granules of sugar on it. I don't have anything stuck to it. No molasses stuck to it. Dish I don't have to wash. Bonus. We really like this molasses. Ah, there you go. Now you can see it better. It's from Azure. Now I'm just going to fill up those little divots. Best I can. I'm going to overthink it. Not to spill. Try not to make the edges yucky. It's my husband's pet peeve. Okay. That's ready to get put back. See how now I have the 4 divots filled in? Is that perfect? No. Is it going to work? Yes. Now I'm gonna go put it on my mixer. Do you wanna see? Okay, so I attached the whisk attachment. I brought it up. It's ready to go. I'm gonna put it on a, literally the lowest setting, stir, or 1. And I'm gonna walk away and I'm gonna forget about it for a couple minutes. Check on it. I'll show you when I check on it. Yes, this is normal. This is what it will look like. Just keep going. In the meantime, while that's going, can you hear it? Guess what we're gonna do? We're gonna multitask and keep going on things that need to get done, right? So I'm gonna put this sugar away. I'm gonna put this away so I have a clean surface, or a little bit of a clean surface, and I'll still stuff over here. And then I can maybe start with the granola. The butter's already melted, right? Or something while I wait. That I still need to be filled, so I'm gonna just push that off to the side. These 2 I'm done with and put away. Okay, like we said, we're gonna multitask. So here is the cute little bowl I got for Christmas forever ago that I make my granola in. It's perfect size. Here's that butter you saw that we melted. It's off to the side. Let me get my recipe out. Okay, I don't follow this completely. But Ruth Ann's granola recipe has been a hit in our house. I can tag her YouTube channel below. She has great tips, and so far every recipe of hers I've tried has been fantastic. So I don't follow it exactly. I kind of make our own family's version, but this is kind of what I base it off of, and this is why I get it out every time, just to make sure I have the roundabout correct measurements. So in this container, I can only half a batch at a time. She must have some massive containers. Maybe I need to go to one of those like restaurant stores and get containers. I really want to. Is that where you guys go? Because I got the big ones at places like Target or Walmart, and they're never big enough for my family. I always have to do half the batch or do multiple turns of the same thing. Where do you guys get those big bowls? Tell me. I want to know. I need one, obviously. Okay, so I've split in half. It says 7 cups of Rice Krispies or some kind of a cereal and 7 cups of rolled oats. I don't have cereal, so I'm just going to do 7 cups of oats and then chop everything else in half that I'm going to add to this bowl. Again, clean up my mess as I go. These granolas that I spill on the counter. And a big bowl. 1-year-old keeps throwing this over the baby gate. There you go. Go get it. Okay, so I have my oats. So, and then it says 3 cups of nuts, walnuts. We are a nut-free house, so what I do is I do 3 cups of mix-ins that aren't dried food. So that could be hemp seeds, sunflower seeds, poppy seeds, pumpkin seeds, nothing if I'm out, right? 3 cups of some kind of mix-ins. We're doing half of it, half batch, so it'll be 1.5 cups. So let's go see what I have, if I have anything. I'm waiting on my Azure order. As you can tell, that's why my oats were from Costco. So I don't know what I have. We're just gonna roll with it. So I have my homegrown dried apples that we can add in afterwards. I learned my lesson the hard way. First time I make granola, do not add the fruit the first time when you're mixing it initially, because it burns before the granola is crispy, and then you have like burnt hard pieces of fruit in your granola. So learn from my mistakes. Let's save it and add it at the end. Apples would be really good in this. I also think I put some raisins and maybe some cinnamon. That would be really good. I'm out of sunflower seeds. I'm out of pumpkin seeds. My jars in there are empty, marked but empty. So I should probably just put them on my one shelf, right? But I do have poppy seeds, so I'm sprinkle a little bit in there. I think I'm also out of hemp seeds. I will double check. I actually really like adding hemp seeds in there because it adds some additional protein. But the bags of the hemp seeds are pretty small. Yeah, the hemp seed bags are out in there. So I'll have to add that to my list with my Azure order. So I'm just gonna move forward. Did I add 1.5 cups of stuff? No. Is it still gonna work out? Yes. Is it better than not making granola for my family and having to figure out something on the spot in the morning? For me, absolutely. Okay, so then it says 1.5 cups of coconut sugar. Again, we don't have coconut in this house. So what I like to do is a mixture of honey and brown sugar, but then we're making it. So that'd be 3/4 of a cup in total. So let's do 1/2 cup of brown sugar and 1/4 cup of honey. So good thing I didn't put this away yet, right? And look, my handy dandy mixer, or not mixer, my handy dandy measuring cup that stays in there at all times. Done. That stays in there. Okay, now I need 1/4 cup of honey. This is my sticky honey jar that I use for recipes because I pour it. My husband absolutely hates when this kind of stuff happens, where it gets on the edge and then it makes the inside sticky and potentially the outside of the jar sticky. So this is my recipe honey, and then my other jar I showed you earlier is the honey that he uses to make me tea. Because, you know, you gotta have some compromise. Do I think it's worth it? Being extra careful every single time? No, and you just put it on the plate and it's a little messy. But it bothers him, so we have 2 jars. And you know what? If that's the simplest combination that I can make to make our mornings easier, why not, right? Okay, so I got the sugar in there. Now I need the seasonings, so cinnamon, salt, okay? And then it says 2 cups of melted fat, so we're gonna need half a recipe. So that's 1 cup, which is exactly what I did here. So let's put in our seasonings. A big old pinch of salt. Good pink Himalayan salt. She just calls for cinnamon in her recipe, but I like to add a combination of cinnamon, to my heart's content apparently, and pumpkin pie spice. And this definitely start off with a tiny bit, but it adds that back note back here. It just makes it so flavorful. Your kids probably will notice it if you add a whole bunch at the very first batch. So I literally am adding like 1/4 of a teaspoon. I'm not adding much, but it makes it a more rounded flavor. Especially with the apples and the raisins we're going to add afterwards. That would be really, really good. Okay, and this giant jar of pumpkin pie spice that was up to here this fall, like we're slowly making our way down, right? I'm only using it to make pumpkin desserts. This is going to go bad before fall's over, and then before fall comes around again. So let's use it, right? Okay. Now I need a spatula to mix this up with the butter and avocado oil, and then it's ready to get cooked. So I'm gonna turn the oven on, grab a spatula. Hey, and I should show you what the brown sugar looks like.
Snack? Are you sitting there because you need snack? You see mom cook stuff and you know it's yummy, so you want some? Snack, 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 snack. Can you ask for a snack nicely? Say please. Please snack, mommy. Okay, would you like some apples? Apples. Okay, I'll get you some. Hey. Hey guys, this has been going for a couple minutes. It's not completely mixed on the edges. Do you see this? I probably should have stopped it and stirred it and had it go again. But look at this light brown consistency. It feels like super soft kinetic sand or super soft brown sugar when you first get it and open it before it even thinks about going hard. It's exactly what it feels like right now. This is the color I like. But this is for my backstrap molasses. If you do not have backstrap molasses, it's not going to be as pungent of a flavor. So you might actually want to make it a little bit darker in color. So I think that's good for me. I'm going to flip it down. I'm going to take this off and pound it on the side to get all of this sugar off without making a giant mess. And then I'm going to use my spatula to combine it completely on the edges by hand, so that these little balls of molasses can get incorporated. And then it's ready to jar up. So I'm gonna leave this here for now because I'm in the middle of granola. So let's get the granola in the oven, and then we'll come back to this as soon as I put the granola in the oven. So, as you saw, the brown sugar is looking really good. Stealing some of these. Because I gave one to my 1-year-old. So he asked for some. And it was real good. Highly, highly, highly recommend if you have an apple tree to make some apple dried slices. These are perfect for oatmeal or granola. I'm just snacking on, because in the ones you buy from the store tend to get a little bit harder. These ones are still soft and pliable. You can tell. Like, you can like bend it and stuff. Like, it's not super crispy, but it's obviously like the liquids out of it. It's not. I mean, I did these September and August last year. So I mean, we're coming on over 6 months, and they're wonderful. And the flavor on the inside is fantastic. There's nothing else added to these. No lemon juice, no salt, no sugar, no nothing. Literally just peeled apples. Anyway, so good. Okay, spatula. And grab one. If you have one, I prefer this style. So you got the hard side right here, but then this curved side is perfect for getting around the edge, which is really good when you're mixing something that has like honey or something really sticky in it. It can tend to get just stuck to the edge and not incorporate with the ingredients. So that kind of helps, at least in my opinion, or something like frosting or pudding or something you're trying to scrape it out, every last drop. So I'm gonna mix in the butter and avocado oil. I'm gonna use my spatula to get as much as I possibly can out of the pot, so we don't want to waste it. Groceries nowadays, everything is super expensive, right? And if you're making stuff from scratch, you don't want to waste your ingredients. Apple lid. Okay, and I'm gonna just fold it in. What's fold? I don't know, just says to fold it. I know I'm saying the quote wrong from Schitt's Creek, but oh, it's so funny. You ever feel like that when you're cooking with kids and you think it's something simple? You just stir it and they're like, what's stir? And you're like, just stir it. Anyway, that's what I feel like cooking with kids is like. Like that one part of that episode is just 100% about what it feels like to cook with kids. Like, kids are starting out, right? That have high ambitions and really want to cook something like extravagant, like cheesecake, but they haven't even made themselves a bowl of cereal, you know? That's what I feel like when you're trying to include them in on something that's really complicated like that. Okay, so I'm not going to spend all day mixing this, no big deal, right? It's going to get mixed more when I pour it down. I'm going to try my best to get any big clumps that I see incorporated. Okay, so it looks pretty good to me. I'm gonna get a cookie sheet out. I'm gonna put parchment paper on it. I tried doing it with the silicone mats, but it tends to stick to the outer edge of the cookie sheet, especially with the high sugar content this has. It gets like little clusters that get burnt and stuck to the edge. So I think parchment paper is the best way to go because you can prevent that, and it has easy cleanup. If you don't have parchment paper, just be prepared for a little bit harder time cleaning the cookie sheet. And I would highly recommend cleaning it right away, if at all possible. Okay, so let's get the parchment paper out and the cookie sheet and do that. For her recipe, she also states that she cooks it on a really low temp, like 250, for a couple hours stirring. That doesn't work for my lifestyle. I have little kids, I have a forgetful memory, we are a neurodivergent house, so I have the energy to do it right now. So I need to take advantage of that, so I'm not going to force myself to be on top of this, stirring it every 15 minutes for 2 to 3 hours. So I'm gonna bump that up to like 350 and check it every 10 minutes. The other thing I learned the first time I started making granola for the family is you want to pull it out way before you think it's done. If it's just barely starting to show color and looks similar to what you want it to look at the end, and maybe you have the outer edges look good, or more than half of the granola looks good, the other half doesn't, pull it out anyway, because you'd rather it be less crispy and less brown than burnt. And I've found as it cools on the cookie sheet, because it's way, way, way too hot to transfer right away. You don't want to put the hot granola in a jar right away anyway, because it's going to encourage moisture and humidity, which isn't going to make it stay crispy or last as long in the cupboard. So you got to leave it on the pan to cool. And when you leave it on the pan to cool, it continues to get crispy and brown. And so I pulled it when it looked perfect. And then as it sat there and cooled, it got more and more and more and more brown and crispy, to the point that it had a bitter flavor. So I want you to be able to avoid that. Pull it out way before you think. You can always put it back in, right? Or you can always go, oh, next time I'll cook it for 2 more extra minutes. Or next time I'll cook it for 5 extra minutes, and see what it looks like then. And just keep it, write it on here. Be like, I cooked it for 350 for 15 minutes. It was perfect. And that way, next time you can be like, okay, that's what I'm going to cook it at. Or, you know, if you have the time, do the 250 like she does, and have her kids stir it every few minutes. Okay, so cookie sheet. My 1-year-old tried to help me with the parchment paper one of the days. Didn't he do such a lovely job helping? Our left leg. Okay. Is that right? Okay. I sprinkle it through a little bit, not a ton, but that it helps it sit better. And I'm gonna push it in. And see how the parchment kind of goes down and up? Down and up. This helps the crispy bits not get stuck on this edge here, which makes it a lot easier to clean up, in my opinion. Paper is folded and put it in here. Okay, our granola is in. Let's try to get all of it, right? Let's not waste any. I'll stack it with my other dirty dish. What I'll probably do is that pot, I just melted the butter and the oil for lunch today. I'll probably use it to cook like some scrambled eggs or something for the kids. That way I can use that pot one more time before I have to wash it, because it just has a light coating of butter on it. And that way we're using that butter too. You know, I don't know. Family of 7. I try to be resourceful and use everything the most I can. You know, if it still has butter on it, why put the butter down the drain? Why wash it when you can use it one more time before you have to wash it, right? Okay. Obviously I don't want to put that pot back in the cupboard, but if I can use it in the next 30 minutes to make the kids lunch, one less thing I have to wash in theory. Okay. Right? I don't know. That's how my brain works, I guess. So, it's a nice even layer. Doesn't have to be perfectly flat. My oven just finished preheating, so I'm gonna put it in there and put the timer for 10 minutes. And then I'm gonna check it. I'm gonna stir it, look at it, and see what it looks like. Like I said, pull it out before you think.
There's nothing in here that's raw that is going to require more than 10 minutes of cooking to be food safe to eat. So we're basically looking for the right amount of crispiness and clusters and crunchiness that your family is after for your granola cereal, right? Okay, so let's put it in. Okay, timer set, 10 minutes. I can never walk away without setting some kind of timer because I will forget about it. So like I talked about, let's just tap it lightly, get all this brown sugar off. One time I tried using a spatula to like, and coax it out, and I spent like 10 minutes doing that, and then I saw someone go like this on a video, and I was like, oh my goodness, that was just, you know, sometimes the simplest things you don't think of in the moment. Sometimes you just make your life harder for yourself. So as you can see, like we talked about, there's these little clumps on the edge of the brown sugar that's not fully incorporated, and that's fine. Let's just mix it in. Here's that same brown sugar spatula I used for the first batch, and let's stir it. I'm scraping the edges. I don't know if it's just me and my KitchenAid mixer, but I've come to find that my KitchenAid mixer struggles sometimes with the sides and with the bottom, incorporating those without you going in and incorporating it yourself. Obviously, me spending the time to mix this brown sugar by hand would have taken way longer than the mixer did, so me having to do this step for 30 seconds at the very end really doesn't bother me. So, okay, that's what it looks like. I'm gonna put it into this container, fill it up as much as I can, and let's see what we have left over. Again, I want to leave enough room so my container will still hold my scooper and close. Maybe a couple more scoops strategically placed on the sides. Okay, can even put a couple more. Wow, we're doing great. Okay, perfect. Actually, that is not that much left. Just a couple cups. I wonder if we're going to use it all today. That's done. Another thing checked off the list. Yes. Small victories. Okay, I'm gonna put this in the pantry, and then I'm gonna go through and decide what we're doing with this. Got a helper now in the kitchen. So this is after 10 minutes. It's not quite as crispy as I would like before I pull it out, so I'm going to stir it. Just a quick stir. Getting these big clumps of brown sugar that are melting up kind of more incorporated. And then I'm gonna put it in for 5 minutes. And then check on it again, obviously. Okay, we're back. That was a little bit of a hiatus. My helper decided he was really hungry. And I looked at the clock and went, oh, it is lunchtime. So I used that pot we were talking about, and I made him some scrambled eggs. He had half of a sourdough bagel that I had made yesterday, and he had some more apple slices. Now he's finally laid down, ready for his nap. Super excited about that. Now I can finish up what I was doing here. Let's go look at that granola. Oh, I wish you could smell this. It smells like fall and pumpkin pie, apple pie, with those cinnamony, sugary flavors. So after I put it back in for 5 more minutes, when the 5 minutes beeped, the timer went off, I turned off the oven and cracked the door, but I did not take the granola out yet. I just went, I will get to it when I get to it, because it was still a tad not brown enough for me. So I let it just sit there, but it wasn't like enough, not crispy and brown, that I would want to set a timer for another 5 minutes. I was nervous that that would be too much. So I just turned the oven off and I cracked the door and called it a day. See, this was a piece that was on the bottom. A lot of people that make granola don't talk about this. That piece on the bottom is super golden and crispy and right at that good clustery
bunchy bit time. But if I would let that go for another 5 minutes, that bottom part that was gooey like that would have burnt. Or started to burn, and then my kids would have said it tasted funny because it was starting to go bitter, right? So I want this to be granola they're actually going to eat. I don't want to put effort into this and then they're not going to eat it. So what I did, what I'm doing now is stirring it one last time. I'm gonna try to get those gooey brown bits from the bottom more towards the top, and the parts that were in the middle more towards the bottom. Just mix it up. Ooh, here's another good looking little cluster. Look at that. Okay, so now I'm gonna set this on the stove that's off just to cool. And put that to the side so we can work on other things while this cools. At this point though, if you want, now is the time to put the apples and the raisins and the whatever. You can do it now, or you can do it once it's fully cooled. It doesn't matter. I kind of like doing it now because the fruit kind of gets a little bit warm, and then it kind of mixes with the spices and the honey and stuff that's in here. So the fruit gets a mild little coating of the cinnamon too, which I kind of like. I'm just gonna put as much fruit as looks good to me. I'm not gonna measure, not gonna worry about it. I'm gonna break these apple chunks up a little bit because it's kind of a big chunk to get on your spoon. I think next time when I make these apples, I'm gonna do some in the strips so that we can just use those for fresh eating. And I think I'm gonna do some more in little chunks so that they're just ready to go for oatmeal and granola and stuff like this, and muffins. But I'm curious if I did that, if they wouldn't be as soft, if they would get a little crispy. Have you ever cut it into tiny pieces and dried it that way? Will you let me know if it gets really hard or if it stays soft and malleable like this? I'd like to know. So if it gets hard, I'll just keep doing the strips and breaking them apart like this. Not a big deal. So I'd rather have this texture. They're too hard. They don't soften up quick enough in the milk by the time the kids want to eat them. Because no one wants to make a bowl of cereal and then wait 10 minutes to eat it. Like, that's just weird. Most people want to eat it right away. So, okay. That looks good. I could add a little bit more. I might just finish up this jar so that it's empty. I need to get a spoon or a spatula or something in there. There we go. Oh, one last straggler. Let's get him. You laughing at me, Raykin?
Because it doesn't want to come out of the jar.
It doesn't. It wants to stay in. It didn't want to get eaten. It wanted, no.
No, we won't.
Yeah, leave me alone.
Why can't I just live my life?
Should we put raisins in this too, or just apples, Raykin?
We've got to add raisins.
Okay, you've got to add raisins. We will add raisins. Okay.
Lots of them.
Okay, I can do that. A jar like this, though, that had apples in it, I'm not going to put up on that counter because we're not going to have more apples until August. So that would sit on my counter labeled apples for months and months on end. So this one's actually going to get washed and put in the canning pantry until we're ready to use it for something else. I only put jars up there that I'm going to refill that Sunday. Or that I would like to. Let's be honest, does everything like happen I need to do it? No. I'm going to set this on the stove. And then we can move forward. Oh yeah, to muffins. Oh, my fingers are all sticky from the raisins. I'm going to wash them.
Extra raisins?
Yes, I added extra raisins.
Yes! I love raisins.
I agree. Raisins and granola is just...
I just like eating the raisins.
Yeah, I like eating the raisins. I think raisins are probably the best dried fruit. One of. They're really good.
Besides dried apricots.
Dried apricots are really good. Dried mango's really good.
Oh yes, especially on Costco.
Yeah, Costco's dried mango is really good. Okay, I'm going to make muffins. And then I'm going to make your lunch when the muffins are in the oven. So I'm going to turn the oven back on. This book is severely underrated. What you need to do is find a cookbook that you really, really enjoy and keep that around. This was my mom's. I've obviously added some recipes to it throughout the years. But you don't always need to be going to Pinterest or finding that cool new recipe on TikTok. Sometimes you just need to open up a cookbook you already own and look for a recipe in there to try. I mean, I collect a lot of cookbooks and I realized I kept trying recipes on TikTok and YouTube and all these other places because they make these cute videos to go with them, and I'm very much a visual learner. But I forget about these cookbooks that I loved at one point, and it's like, let's get back to using them. And I did that, and I made a muffin recipe that I hadn't made in years, and it was such a big hit with the kids. And I'm like, oh, I forgot how much I liked this classic old cookbook. So anyway, so page 87. I think this cookbook is still in production. Like, you could still easily find it. It wouldn't look quite like mine with all the extra stuff taken out and the, I don't know if you can tell, and the like worn looking pages, right? Definitely got the old cookbook vibes going. But I'm just opening up to their basic muffin recipe. And I'm trying to figure out how much sugar I need in here to do a double batch. So I'm going to do some that are chocolate chip, and I'm going to do some that are cranberry. And if this is the right amount of sugar, I'm just going to leave it in here and not worry about putting it into a jar. So, okay, this doesn't need hardly any sugar at all. It needs a 1/4 cup. How many does this make again? Oh, this only makes 1 pan. If I do this, if I double it, that's 2 pans. Okay, so I think I'm going to move some of this into a jar and leave in the, if I double the recipe, leave in the 1/2 cup I'm going to need. I'm going to make the recipe in here, and then I'm going to split it before I add my mix-ins. I want chocolate chip and cranberry together. I'm going to do 2 different ones, right?
Oh, that sounds good.
Mixing cranberries and chocolate chips?
Yeah.
Maybe we'll try it one day. Not today. Okay. Okay. So, I'm going to get a jar. And let's move this rest of this brown sugar out. I think I'm going to use this apple jar. I have the dried apples in it. Okay. Love this thing. People think you use this just for canning. I use this every day. Well, every Sunday to refill. Okay. So I'm going to take this stuff out. Okay. It is brown sugar that I homemade. So I'm leaving just roughly 1/2 cup in there. This can get labeled and put in the pantry. You know what, that'd be perfect for when my husband runs out of his brown sugar. You can just grab this and not even have to transfer anything over. So I'll put this in the pantry for him. Okay, let's read this recipe together. In a mixing bowl, stir together flour, sugar, baking powder, and salt. So I have the sugar. Let's add the baking powder and salt. It is saying 2 teaspoons of baking powder, so I'm actually going to need 4 because we're doubling the recipe. So let's put in 4 teaspoons.
Is this the cookbook?
Yep, the cookbook Gmom gave me when I first moved out into my first house or apartment. One of the things she got me when we moved out was she gave me this cookbook that was hers that I really liked using as a teenager at her house.
I like
And
how
she
Mom
put
has it.
little sticky notes and stuff in here for some of the recipes that she really liked or that we liked making together.
What was the one that she loved?
One that she loved. She loved the sweet and sour sauce in here. She really liked the banana bread recipe. She really liked the chocolate chip cookies recipe in here.
Maybe we should try that chocolate chip.
Yeah, we haven't made it in a while. So, but we made the muffins all the time, and I like getting back to making those recipes. It makes me happy to use them.
Ooh, wait.
Okay, skedaddle.
Okay.
Now I need half teaspoon salt, so doubling would be 1 teaspoon. Okay, and then I need 1 3/4 cups all-purpose flour. That would be 1, 2, 3.5. So I need to open up my new bag of flour. I know my baby needed that break of me from cooking so I could get him some lunch. But man, when you're in the zone and you're doing stuff and you need to take a break, I don't know if it's just me, but that is so hard to get back into the groove. You just want to you look at this mess you've started and you just completely want to be done with it. So I need 3.5. You don't even want to look at it. So I need 3.5 cups of flour. So I'm going to do 3 cups of this Costco flour that we really like. I know it's for making bread, but I actually really like this for everything. So I'm going to do 3 cups, and then I'm going to do 1/2 cup of the whole wheat. I refilled this before you guys came into the picture. I went, oh yeah, I was going to do that on camera, and I forgot. But I really like using whole wheat flour with almost every recipe that we make. I've been trying to incorporate it more and more and more. And we want to be more sustainable. We want to work towards getting our own wheat berries and our own meal. And so I don't want to, when we do that, I don't want to just all of a sudden just be using whole wheat all the time. So I want to gradually, make our palates more accustomed to a whole wheat flavor. So I'm going to do 3 cups of regular flour and then 1/2 cup of the whole wheat. So let's go to step 2. Okay, put a well in the center. Now, if you were being crazy, you could go ahead and mix this just to make sure the baking powder is incorporated really well, that you don't have clumps of it in random spots. And when you do that, now you can push things up to the side and make a well. If you've ever made homemade pasta, that's what you do for pasta. So you can almost, I don't know if you can see, I can see the dot of the dimple of the bottom of the bowl, and the rest is pushed up the edge. It doesn't have to be perfect. It just needs to be like that. Go well. So you have a spot to put your 1 beaten eggs, or doubling 2 eggs, your 3/4 cup of milk, so 1.5 cups of milk, and your 2/3 of oil. I've done this before where I've used butter. I've done this before I used avocado oil. All works great. Okay, let's combine egg, milk, and oil in the middle. Add just until moistened. Batter should be lumpy. So we're going to go to that point where the batter is lumpy, and then we're going to start separating it out. So what I'm going to do is, so I don't have to get another container dirty, it's like a mantra of the day. I don't want to do any more dishes, considering, I don't know if you can see, my sink is just overflowing. Spending time outside yesterday, like we talked about, that happens. And so I'm trying to get things set up for the week, to make things simpler for me when we're going to be doing homeschooling, when we're going to be doing big projects, when Dad's home and we're spending more time as a family. And so I'm trying really hard to accomplish all those dishes today. And for me not get overwhelmed with that thought, I'm trying really hard not to make the pile even bigger. So what I'm going to do is, once this is mixed, I'm going to get out my muffin tin. I'm going to scoop plain muffin mix into the first batch, and then I'll just sprinkle the chocolate chips on top. If I really feel fancy, I'll go through with like a fork or a spoon or the little spatula and mix it a little bit if I feel like it. It should be fine. The kids aren't gonna care. So I'll just put extra chocolate chips on top. If some sink down to the bottom, awesome. If not, they'll just be chocolate chips on the top. They won't mind. And then in this bowl, I can mix in the rest of the mix-ins, like the berries and stuff I want to for the second one. Okay. Let's go do that. 2 eggs. Oh, I'm putting it there. Put it away. 2 eggs. Look at this pretty green one my son just got when he went and checked on the chickens. And then we've got a classic brown. Let's crack it in. Eggshell, a bowl or compost bowl. If you don't have pigs. Look how pretty, even on the inside, it's pretty green. Okay, wash hands. Okay, eggs in. Now I need milk and oil. Let's get a little measuring cup for liquids. Let's do the oil first. 2/3 of a cup. Ooh, I might have to go to the pantry and get some more. I hope I have enough in here. Okay, go to where you think it is. You're under. Go, always pour it under, and then go set it down and really look at it. And do the last little bit where you're as close to eye level as possible to be as accurate as possible. Being a little under or over in this muffin recipe is going to be a make it or break it. However, adding excess oil into here is just less oil I can use for other recipes. And we're trying really hard to stay away from seed oils and other oils that just don't make us feel as good on the inside. And so these avocado oils are a little bit more pricey than those ones. So just be mindful. Milk. It's gonna be 1.5 cups. Again, pour it to where it's close and then stop. Get down to the measuring cup's level. And then top it off until it's at the right height for what you need for your recipe. Okay. Just remembered that I just turned the oven on and I didn't look to see what temperature it actually needed. Bake at 400 oven for 20 minutes. Okay. Last time I made these, it said 20 to 25 minutes or until golden. And I did closer to the 25, so this time I'm gonna do closer to 20 because they were a tiny bit crispy at the bottom. Crispier than I'd like. They weren't quite as moist. So let's do 400 degrees for 20 minutes. Good thing I looked. I only had it set to 350. That wouldn't have been good. Now I need a whisk or a spatula. Let's use this one that I used for the brown sugar. Let's mix this together. I punched down with the spatula to break up the yolk before I did anything else. I notice in this recipe they don't call for vanilla or cinnamon or any extra flavorings. And that's completely up to you. I don't want to add this because I'm doing a double batch. The vanilla would be really good, as well as cinnamon would be really good with the chocolate chips. However, I don't think the cinnamon and vanilla would be really good with the cranberries unless I was going for more of like a Christmas cookie profile, which I'm not. I'm actually going to add lemon juice and cranberries, so I don't want cinnamon and lemon juice. So I'm just going to leave it as is and just do a quick mix up. It's nice to use this mixing bowl. I know I could have gotten a different bowl out or used the granola bowl, but we're just trying our hardest to not make extra dishes. There's no reason I needed to get another bowl out when this one was already going to need to be washed and all that it had in it was the brown sugar, right? Okay, the recipe stated it will be lumpy. So I'm gonna say that is good. Does that look good to you? Okay, now let's put this away or off to the side. Let's clean up. Let's put raisins away, poppy seeds away, apples away, so I have room to build. Okay, this can get put away, this can get put away, this can get put away. So these are the 2 muffin pans I'm going to be using today. I have a mini one, but I think I'm going to make full-size ones. This is my absolute favorite one. It's some old one we got at a thrift store, but it is a Foley. I love this one. They come out perfect. They're perfectly brown, just the right amount of golden. It is a light metal. that does make a difference. When I got this one for Christmas a couple years ago, it works well, but being this darker color, I always have to remind myself that things brown faster in it. So what I'm going to do is use this one for my first batch. The oven won't be as hot, and I'll make sure to pour out exactly 20 minutes. My second batch, I'll put these in this, and then I can watch it at 20 minutes, see if it needs any longer. That was the issue I had last time, is that I did them both at the same time. This was just a blueberry batch for both. And the one in the lighter colored muffin tin was perfect at like 24 minutes. But then when I pulled these guys out, they were almost burnt at the bottom. So just keep that in mind. It's sprayed out, scoop it in. I'm not a huge fan of this avocado oil. I don't like the way it sprays. Do you guys have another alternative that would be good? That's not a seed oil? Let me know. Okay. I couldn't find the measuring cup I usually use for this, so I'm going to use my ice cream scoop. Just fine. Do you see how I'm keeping these just in a bowl off to the side? For I might want to keep using this instead of instantly putting it in the sink and then it's in with the dirty dishes. So a spatula that just had brown sugar in it, you know, I can use again for something else. Okay, I'm gonna use a scoop. Actually, I might be using it right now to scoop out the... Thank you. Thank you for tightening that baby locker. Yeah. Okay, I'm just gonna keep going, scooping it in. I find with this recipe, you can scoop it to about 3/4 full with no issues. Try not to go all the way full, because it does need room to expand. So I'm just gonna fill it halfway now so I can show you what I mean by just putting the chocolate chips on top. So I'm going to continue to fill this, but I'm just gonna show you. Big old bag of chocolate chips. And I'm just gonna take a small handful and put it right on top. I'm not gonna count, I'm not gonna measure, I'm just gonna go all the way. Okay. Now if I was feeling super extra and I wanted to make it look like and taste like those muffins you might get at a really cool bakery coffee shop, I put the big granulated sugar on top, turbinado sugar. I don't have any of that right now. And I find that looks really pretty, but it just adds more sugar to the muffin. When my kids already want to eat 6 muffins at a time, we don't necessarily need that. So I'm gonna just do that much. I'm gonna fill this one up as well. Okay, so I've got the chocolate chip ones ready to go in the oven. I'm gonna go put them in now. Oven's ready for me. This has been perfect today. Usually I'm waiting on the oven. So I'm gonna put them in, set the timer, 20 minutes exactly. Let's check it. Okay, here is where I'm gonna get my cranberries from. This is a jar of cranberry juice that I canned up last fall when the cranberries went on sale. So I guess is that winter technically? And then what we do is we drink the cranberry juice. Usually mix it with some more water when we pour it in here. And then when we get down closer to the bottom, what I'll do is I'll pour the rest of the juice in a glass, maybe chef's treat, and then I'll use these cranberries in either a muffin, pancakes, quick bread, something like that as the addition instead of tossing these. I've also seen people keep the cranberries and use them for like a mocktail or a cocktail and muddle them into a drink. It'd be so good muddled at the bottom with some mint and some sparkly water. So, so good. Or muddled at the bottom of lemonade before you pour in the lemonade. That'd be good too. But that's not what we're doing today. I found that this is the easiest way to save those cranberries and use them for something else without them going to waste. It's kind of a 2-for-1. You open a can of juice, and then your mom also makes muffins. Like, can't go wrong there. So I'm gonna try my hardest to get as much of this juice out as possible. I really don't want to be adding an excess of juice at this point. If these were frozen cranberries, if you didn't have a can of homemade, oh look at this cranberry juice. Look at that.
beautiful that is. Let me taste it. Oh, it's so good. I added a little bit of mango juice from a canned mango, where like the syrup, mango syrup in here. That was a little bit left over. I was like, oh, let's pour it in here because I was like, I don't waste it. Anyway, so it's like a mango cranberry fruit punchy flavor. It's a little bit, you can feel it back there. It's still a little bit tart and pungent. It's not overly sweet. It's really good. Okay. Anyway, if you were to use like frozen cranberries, I'd want to dump the frozen cranberries in here and sprinkle them with a little bit of flour and sugar. The sugar to help with the tartness. This already had sugar added to it when you made the juice, so I'm not going to add any additional sugar to offset the tartness. There was a perfect balance in that juice, so I'm pretty sure the cranberries themselves will have a perfect balance too. If you're using dried cranberries, I would just throw them in, not worry about it, okay? But these ones, I got as much juice off as possible. Not measuring here, I'm just dumping them in. That's the right amount. What else I'm also going to do is add a tiny splash of lemon juice. It just takes it to a whole new level and makes them more like lemonade, cranberry lemonade muffins. It's just so good. Okay, so let's add that splash of lemon juice, sink, and then I'm gonna mix that up and put it in this muffin tin so it's ready to go as soon as the other one beeps. And I'll be back with you in a moment when they both come out and I'll show you what they look like. Okay, we're back. It's been a little bit later. I made the other kids lunch and all the muffins have finally come out. I actually had a few extra of the cranberry muffins, but we've got cute little cranberry muffins. Perfect amount of golden brown. I still don't know what's going on with that one pan. Look, it's just a little bit darker, and I cooked these less for less time. So, and there you can tell they're a little bit more dense, not quite as moist and fluffy. And then of course we have our granola I need to put in containers. They're up on that counter. Oh, and look, they're half gone already. So at least they taste good. So I also refilled the flour. You didn't see that. I need to refill the baking soda container and then clean up and put all of this away. And at least I have breakfast taken care of for the week. Maybe do the muffins with some eggs on the side and then granola. And then I just have to figure out lunches and dinners. I'm sure we're gonna post some more videos later on this week on what we do for lunches and dinners. But until then, I'll see you guys next time. Homemade breakfast restock. Got 2 jars, half gallon, with granola, some chocolate chip muffins, and some lemonade cranberry muffins. As well as, well, I made these yesterday. There was 12 bagels. Now we're down to 3. Sesame seed and cinnamon sugar.